Hey Jeff, how you doing? You ready for another episode?
Doing great.
What's going on with your voice?
Nothing. I'm just ready for another episode.
I think I might have just slipped into an alternate universe where you've been a 3-pack-a-day smoker for the past 40 years or something.
I don't know.
Let me see if I can fix this. Looks the same around here. Hey Jeff, how you doing?
I'm down to 2. You didn't know that was coming, did you?
Turn that radio dial.
What you talking about, Wood?
It's time for the most Gen X podcast there is.
Real tomato ketchup?
Not even close, right?
You found it.
Never been so happy in my whole life.
It's just Jeff and the dazzlingly uncool.
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
Those aren't pillows.
And now, it's just Jeff.
Jeff, how are you?
Not too bad.
That's a very kind of original way to start off our podcast. We never start that way, do we? Hey, how you doing?
Hi. I think we're pretty. Original when it comes, unoriginal when it comes to the opening.
Yeah.
I think it takes us a little bit of time to gain traction, but when we do,
Yeah,
buddy,
we fired
look
that
out.
opening salvo's a little weak, but then we let out the whole arsenal after that.
We make them think nothing's coming. So we lose everyone in the first 25 seconds, but that's okay.
That's right, but it's
They
all
just-
scorched earth after that.
That's
Take
right.
no prisoners.
No prisoners.
Speaking
no
of
prisoners.
scorched earth,
Yeah.
we grew up in a time where there was a lot of fire and ash and smoke
Yeah.
everywhere we went,
Mm-hmm.
in the form of little cancer sticks.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't grow up in
Right?
the mountains.
No,
We didn't-
cancer sticks.
Yes. A lot of smoke, a lot of ash.
Everybody smokes.
Everybody smoked. I mean, now, like, when you say everybody, you're talking about all of us and all of our friends, or everybody,
No.
all of our, like, parents and whatnot?
Our parents and our friends' parents. I mean,
Yeah.
now our parents, they both smoked at one point or another. I really don't ever remember mom smoking, maybe just once or twice.
I don't know.
Dad took up the habit again when I was probably 8, and we really got on him about it. We didn't like it, and so we convinced him to stop. But I remember there was kind of a ceremonial, like a little ceremony that took place. He came back from a business trip, and I remember he had a little packet of like 3 cigarettes that they would give you on the airplane. It was like a little packet of Merit cigarettes, and just had 3 cigarettes in it. I think that's what they gave it to you when you got on the plane, right?
That is, I had no idea.
I think that's what it was. And so he gave us each one of those cigarettes and said, "Here, you can just tear it up and throw it in the trash can, and this is done."
Yeah, I kind of remember
So
that. I kind of remember that.
Soaked them in water, tore them up, threw them away. Yeah. But, I mean, everywhere you went, like we talked about airplanes. I mean, they had a smoking or non-smoking section on the airplane, but the whole airplane smelled like smoke. Like, by today's standards, if you were in one of those airplanes, you would think, my clothes are gonna smell.
I'd like 1 ticket to Chicago.
My eyes are burning. I can't even stand this. But
Smoking or non-smoking?
Smoking, please.
Here, have a nice trip.
it was just.
The smoking section on an airplane was only divided by a number.
I know.
It was like, where are you? 32C, smoking. Where are you? 33C, non-smoking.
Well, yeah, they figured they were blowing their smoke forward, and it was going forward.
I get it.
You didn't have somebody right next to you that was smoking, that the smoke would come up in your face. But I mean, let's face it, the whole airplane was full of smoke, and
Oh my God.
I mean, a restaurant. You smoking or non-smoking section. They weren't different rooms.
No.
I mean, they were just one side smoking, the other side non-smoking. I remember, being in the carpool, being picked up from school or going to school. I mean, your friends' parents would smoke, and they'd crack the window a little bit, crack the window. But it was just the world we lived in, and it's really hard, for me to imagine, if I was in a car with somebody smoking right now, it would drive me nuts.
Oh, I know. I mean,
the smell, the burning your eyes, all that, but that's just how everything was when we were growing up.
I mean, you go into a restaurant right now and light up, and I mean, they'll ask you to leave. They'll probably politely ask you to leave, but they'll be like, "Yeah, you need to go."
I haven't seen anybody try to pull that off in a while.
I haven't either, but I'm just saying I don't think they'd go for it. Now you can always tell which parents smoke the most in the carpool line because they turn around and go, "How was school?"
Have that nice smoker's voice, and
that's what I'm saying. How was school?
A deep smoker's cough.
The deep smoker's cough.
Right.
It's like you and I always joke about with the guy from the Pawn Stars.
Rick.
It's so funny. He'll tell a joke. It's like, he bought an original Everlasting Gobstopper the other day, and he was just so excited, and he's just like, I could just see him saying, "Man, I remember these when I smoked a pack a day." But yeah, smoking, you just did it.
Yeah,
but not just parents. There were students that smoked and apparently did have an addiction, and they were taken care of at school.
We had a smoking area.
We had a student smoking section.
And I think that was pretty common in that day, but it wasn't. I think so, but the thing is, very shortly after we graduated high school, that's when a lot of the smoking ages and the age when you could buy tobacco changed, and so I think that was the demise of the school smoking area.
Okay. Well,
yeah. But yeah, you think about that now, and it's like, did that really happen? And
it makes no sense.
No. If you say it to a kid who's, or somebody that's more than about 4, 5, or 6 years younger than us, they probably wouldn't remember it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You tell someone, "Hey man, there was a smoking section when I was in school." And he would tell his buddy, "That's the same guy that told us there was an 80-foot man with an axe and a big blue ox." This guy's stories don't really. He tells tall tales. Yeah, right. Man.
Yeah, but you had there was a tough crowd out at the smoking section too.
Well, I mean, it was.
I remember there were a lot of boots out there, but not cowboy boots.
No.
Remember there were some people that wore almost like Renaissance Festival boots. They were suede, and they would come up outside. Do you remember there was a group of people that was kind of their fashion? I mean, maybe
but that actually sounds like a nice fashion.
Well, I just remember there was a group of people that would wear kind of hippie sort of clothes, and one of the things was these suede boots that would kind of lace up, and I swear they had like fringe on the top or something you know what I'm talking about? Am I completely making this up?
Yes, I thought you were talking about. No, I know the boots you're talking about. I thought you were when you said horse riding boots. I thought you were talking about the people that do English saddle riding.
No, these were.
Group.
These look like people that were just ready to soon as that bell rang after 7th period, they were off to the Renaissance Festival or something. I don't know.
It might have been. There's no telling what they were smoking. Probably cloves or something like
probably
that.
Were.
But
they had their own spot, and I don't remember. I mean, I guess they just got to go there between periods or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think they got to get out of class.
they didn't get to go take a smoke break.
Yeah, and I
But
don't
at
think that
lunchtime or after school, before school.
I don't think that if they were tardy to a class and they told the teacher I was just finishing my drag that he was going to get off lightly. No, you had a time frame. Yeah, in fact, there were probably a lot of very big butts out there that people would probably just go in and smoke later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they had to just snuff them out.
Yeah. You always had people.
So we all pretended. Who was that?
Oh no, I just said you always had the guys you could see looking for butts on the ground, and
yeah. We all pretended we smoked, but I mean, I never really smoked. But we all had candy cigarettes, or like when it was cold in the when your breath would show when it was cold outside, you'd pick up a stick and pretend like you were smoking.
Yeah,
it was just the way it was. And then when if you went to a restaurant with your parents and you had to go to the bathroom, well, you had to walk right by the the vending machine, right?
Did you ever buy anything there?
I never bought any, but every time I'd go back there, I'd pull those handles to see if I could get some to come out. You'd always sit there and like admire the artwork of all that. I mean, there was probably like, I recall there was like, you probably had like 20 choices of different cigarettes.
Yeah.
In one of those
like
vending machines.
3 layers, and you had cool, and it was probably a couple bucks. You put them in, you
Winston,
pull the thing, and you got you a pack of smokes, man.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess
you can't be expected to make it through a restaurant meal without needing to, refresh your pack, right? Of course, you're going to buy some cigarettes at the restaurant.
It just makes sense, why stop at the convenience store? Yeah, I think I guess they quit doing those in places other than bars. It seems like they stuck around in bars for a long time, where minors, couldn't go. But, cigarette machines,
I
man.
I think that probably, those went out right about the same time that the smoking areas in the high schools went out, because the age, they were just aged out of that. So then they were restricted to bars.
Yeah.
21 and older places. But it was a different time. I mean, you watch like watch TV shows or old, like we talked about, we should do a whole show on the Battle of the Network Stars sometimes, but you see the network stars out there, competing, and in between the relay race, they're taking a drag of their Marlboro or their Camel Unfiltered,
Right.
Professional athletes all smoked. Doctors all smoked.
Oh yeah. Now, if you're watching a show on TV now, I mean, it'll have to put up in the corner if smoking's involved in it.
That's right.
Like
it makes
nudity, language, smoking.
I know. TVMA, smoking.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But there's more and more of it now. For a long time, it kind of went out of vogue, and you didn't really see it. It was almost shocking to see smoking on a TV or a movie. But now it seems like there's more and more of it.
Well,
and the sad thing is, go ahead. I was just
going to say that when you do see it say smoking, I mean, I don't remember seeing the smoking. So it probably is just one scene or two scenes, maybe where some kids are trying cigarettes and they shouldn't. So it's not like it's saying, look, there's a lot of smoking in this. It just seems that someone takes a drag, you have to put smoking.
Yeah, I think so. So. I remember Penn Jillette one time was in one of his comedy routines. He gets up and he's smoking and he's like, kids watching this, you really should never pick up this habit unless you just want to look really cool. Right? Which is kind of sad, because it does kind of look cool. See somebody smoking, but then you look at it and you're like, oh man, their breath must just reek, their clothes reek. It's just, there's nothing really about it that looks appealing or like it would be enjoyable to me, but
I think Norm says something like that. He says he got caught smoking and his dad made him smoke a whole cigar, and he said, and that's when I started smoking cigars. He said he started smoking cigarettes to look cool, and it said it did make him cool, and now he became addicted to cigarettes. But,
thanks, Dad. I learned it from watching you.
Dad. I learned it from watching you, Dad. Well, when our parents would smoke, they didn't have Surgeon General labels yet. C. Everett Koop was the first one who did that.
Yeah, that's right. Those just kind of came out sort of, I guess like in the early 70s or mid 70s or something.
Mid 70s, but I mean, like, I don't think it said anything about pregnancy. It just didn't say anything. No Surgeon General warning.
I remember, the first time I can ever recall building a jigsaw puzzle, and other than like your little wooden puzzles or little kid puzzles or whatever,
right?
The first time I remember sitting down and like doing an actual adult 500-piece jigsaw puzzle was in Oklahoma City, and it was Mom and Dad, and it was a Marlboro Man picture, the guy on the horse. It was a Marlboro ad, and I remember the box like it had come in the mail. So I'm sure that this was some kind of thing you send in your box tops from your packs of Marlboros or whatever, whether it was Mom and Dad that got it, or maybe Muvvy and Big Daddy, our grandparents, maybe got it and gave it to him. Yeah. You want to do a puzzle? I got this puzzle. But I just remember that. I mean, that was the culture.
Hell, it could have been Tom Selleck, for all we know. I think he was a Marlboro Man.
He was a Marlboro Man.
I think he was.
But I remember,
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm thinking if Dad, if it was him that redeemed the cigarette stamps to get the puzzle, I guess he didn't want the red satin jacket that said Marlboro off the back.
Well, because he knew all the boys would fight over it.
Of course. Of course.
Who was going to wear that? But you remember Muvvy and Big Daddy, our grandparents, smoked until the day they died.
Yeah.
But I don't remember ever feeling like when you'd go to their house that there was anything unusual.
No.
One time that I remember, we would go to camp. We called it summer camp. You'd go stay with grandparents, and I remember not thinking anything about it at the time, but when I came home and unpacked my clothes, I realized that smells like cigarettes.
You could smell the cigarettes then.
Yeah, because in our house, you didn't have that smell. Then I opened up my suitcase. I'm like, dang, that's pretty strong. Yeah. That's the first time I ever was really aware of that. Otherwise, you wouldn't notice it because everybody smelled like that. And now, I mean, it's really funny. As a doctor, I mean, when you go into a room with somebody who smokes, into an exam room, I mean, it just hits you as soon as you walk in the door. And,
oh, really?
It's just, oh, yeah. Or think about you're at work, people that go out to have a smoke and they come back in. I mean, you just smell them. They just smell so strong. Yeah. But everybody just used to smell
especially
like that.
Especially if you get on, I guess.
Yeah,
especially if you get on the elevator with them. They're just, they come in from outside and you're like, golly.
Right.
And you can always tell the people that smoke too, because they'll just, they'll be away from their desk a couple of times, an hour. And they don't, I mean, they don't abuse it. They don't sit out there for 40 hours. They go out there, they smoke their cigarette and they come back up. But you're right. You can tell who they are. They just, there's not much that can hide that smell.
No, there's not. And it's not really an acceptable smell anymore, I guess. You just notice it. I mean, it's not like but you remember Steve Martin had a routine where he was talking about this was maybe when the tide was just starting to change a little bit. So don't you hate it when you go into a restaurant and you're sitting in the non-smoking section and somebody looks over at you and says, "Hey, mind if I smoke?" And he's like, so I just started saying, "Why no? Mind if I fart?" It's one of my habits. They got a special section for me on planes now.
Now, I will say that Seinfeld, right here, has one of the funniest episodes with smoking. And it's Frank Kramer. They kick him out for smoking a cigar, and he walks out, and He's smoking with a bunch of cigarette people, and he just decides to host them.
Well, he turned his apartment into a smoking zone, right?
Smoke lounge, yeah. Hey, Jerry, you coming over? It's pipe night. People would come over. He says, "I don't have anything right here. I got room in the non-filtered section." And then he comes over, and his face just looks horrible.
He's all brown and his teeth. Jerry's like, "What happened to you? What's wrong?" And that's one, like, if you watch the outtakes, the bloopers.
Oh my God, Jerry can't keep it. Yeah.
They had to do that over like 20 times. He just couldn't keep a straight face.
That was so funny though.
Very funny. Well, I mean, I wonder, do we ever get back to a time where people smoke like that? Do we ever get back to a time where we have smoking sections in restaurants and on airplanes? And I don't know. Now, I mean, it's probably more geared towards vaping, right? Which doesn't smell as bad, doesn't make people's clothes smell bad, makes it smell like mango sometimes, but
have you seen the plumes of smoke that come from those?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it almost boggles the mind. Like, how is there such a volume of smoke? It makes you realize, like, in times of COVID and stuff, where, just somebody exhaling, when you can, like, have a visual, like, see what the plume of their breath looks like.
That's a good point right there. That's a good point.
Freaks you out a little bit.
To answer your question, I don't think you will ever see it come back. There are a lot of extreme environmentalists right now, but I think everyone would agree that you don't need to bring smoking back. I mean, I just can't see it, right? I mean, why would you?
I don't know. But, I mean, it's just one of those things that just slowly, I mean, it was, in olden days, everybody smoked pipes and stuff like that. And then for some reason, with the Surgeon General warning and our realization that it's behind so many of the problems that kill people, it's just kind of gone out of style. Hasn't gone away.
No, it hasn't gone away. And it really wasn't until, not too far in the distant past that they finally there's no place where you can smoke. I guess there might be some places you can smoke. I don't know. I used to always think if I owned a bar, I would make it a non-smoking bar. And I had people say, "You lose a lot of customers." And I'd be like, "I'd gain a lot of customers too."
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine if you could go to a bar with smell?
Well, bars are non-smoking now.
No.
In
now,
fact,
now I was saying way back when. Yeah.
Well, so when I lived in England, and now the pubs over there are non-smoking, but they weren't when we lived there.
Yeah.
And so we would sometimes play like in a little pub, play music in the pub and all that, and I hated it because you're just in smoke all night long. You come home and you got to take a shower. You just smell like smoke. And then I remember we played at a place here in Utah, and the bar was smoke-free, right? But we get there to play, and they're like, "We're going to put you out on the patio. It's such a nice night." Well, that's the smoking area, right? So you come home, you're like, "Oh, man, I was outside, but I smell like smoke. All my clothes smell like smoke."
I wonder
I don't think... I certainly don't miss having that
and you
around.
Own the building, maybe they allow it. But, when I was working downtown, they had smoking sections, but you had to be like a certain distance from the building. It wasn't just like standing outside. You had to 15, 20 feet away from the building. Almost kind of like, if you're going to smoke, we're going to parade you.
Yeah. Make you sit out there and look like like the leper colony or something. Yeah. And you always felt bad for the people, like when it was cold in the winter, they were they were a little bit ashamed. They're out there, they're cold, all huddled up, and they're
And I'm walking in there like, "Oh, you poor guys," with a huge dip in my mouth.
Let he among you without nicotine cast the first stone, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, here's to non-smoking. Here's to non-smoking. Here's to not having smoking sections at the high schools, I think it's better.
Yep.
I'm sure you'll have more to
It's a
say.
lot better.
You'll have more to say in your final thoughts.
It's a great story to tell, though. I mean, come on. We had a smoking section at high school for students. Did the staff smoke with them? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Probably.
It was like a general smoking section. Yeah.
I mean, Motley Crue's singing about smoking in the boys' room. It's like, no, they're smoking right here in the officially sanctioned lot adjacent to the cafetorium.
Yeah, right? They're not trying to get away with anything.
Teacher, don't fill me up with your rules. But hey, can I bum a ciggy off of you? Shop teacher? Yeah, sure, here you go.
Yeah, right? I'm out there smoking. And my English teacher's right there, and she's like, you need to learn how to conjugate verbs. And I'm like, maybe so. Can I bum one? What the hell? I did that a while ago, man. It was like, damn. Oh, brother.
All right, that'll do it.
It's time for closing thoughts with Jeff. And now, here's Jeff.
Here in the States, if you hear someone say cigs, smokes, or butts, everyone knows those are slang terms for cigarettes. In Canada, they're called darts. In Mexico, they're called dobrillos. I kept my research to North America. One day maybe I'll look up what they call them in places like England and Australia. But I didn't want to stop there. If I'm going to do a show on cigarettes, I feel I owe it to my listeners to at least try them. So I smoked every type offered by every brand. Marlboro Red, Marlboro Light, Non-Filter, Menthol, Virginia Slims, even generic. In all, I probably smoked roughly 47 darts in about 7 hours. Sure, at first I got almost sick, but when all was said and done, I ended up with a $12 a day addiction. I wonder if anyone ever started a Kickstarter campaign for bad habits. Anyway, until next time, just cut it. Cut it.
Thank you for listening to the Just Jeff and the Dazzlingly Uncool podcast. Check back every Thursday for new episodes. If there's a topic you think we should discuss on the podcast, leave us a comment or a message and we'll do our best to get to it. Hey, do you think you yourself may be dazzlingly uncool? Well, if you found your way to our podcast, chances are pretty good, or at least that you will be one day. Wear that title with pride. Please consider becoming a Patreon sponsor. If you go to our site at www.patreon.com/dazzlinglyuncool, you can support the show and get access to special members-only benefits. Don't forget, the video version of the podcast is posted on YouTube every Thursday. Check it out. Find out more at www.rockysealmusic.com.
Good Lord.